Nearly every business I know has the same problem: website visitors that don't convert. And that's why today I'm going to show you an AI automation that solves a massive problem for Pocket Change. Learn this automation, you can fix your own business or you can sell it as a solution. It's up to you. Let's take a look. So I think the easiest way to show you how this works is actually run a quick demo. We have an n8n automation and we have a user interface which can be added to any website. The demo I've set it up as though this would be added to an accounting firm's website, but this works with any niche. So you can see down here I've activated the automation and it's waiting for the trigger event. And that trigger event is going to come from this here, which can be added, as I said, to any website. So we just enter in our email address, continue to customer service. Now at this section here, if we're on an accounting site and someone's looking for information, they might be looking for tax prep, bookkeeping, etc. I'll just go for a general inquiry and then I'll just ask my question. How much is a tax return for my family? So then we can just kick off the consultation. Here's our response back. It's fairly comprehensive. It details what a family tax return is and how much an individual. So this could be anything for any niche depending on what information we provide the AI agent. Why do people bounce and why don't they convert? They don't get what they want and it's too hard. So the idea of this, make your information available to your website visitors, and when they need to or want to and ready to, they can book a meeting. To do that, they just click book a meeting. You can make your booking and it links straight across into your Google Calendar as well, if that's the way you want to set it up. Okay, I'm going to take you through how to build this n8n automation. If you want to skip all that and actually just get your hands on the .json file that constructs this, you can grab it from my Online Ninja community. Just head over there, join up. The link will be the first one in the description. Okay, so to break down the AI agent, we have 7 components. We have a webhook, AI agent, a respond to webhook node, and then we have a chat model, which is like the brains of the entire automation. We have some memory, and this is where we add the business specific information, a Google Sheet and a Google Doc. So let's quickly run through how this all hangs together. With a webhook, what n8n does is provides 2 URLs, a test URL and a production URL. This is what is over in the web app, and when the user asks a question, that data is sent to this endpoint and processed. It's then passed over into the AI agent. There are 2 main things you need to look out for in the AI agent. We have a user message, and the user message is just grabbing the body of the message that came across from the webhook, which is this component here, and you can see in it, it says how much is a tax return for my family. The system message, it's a bit more complicated. You can modify it for any type of business. Obviously it's set up to be an accounting firm at the moment, so if you were doing a car dealership or a physiotherapist, you just modify this so it knows the kind of business that it is. The important parts in here are actually the tooling section. So what the prompt tries to do is say, if the user asks for questions, say about accounting pricing, go to the spreadsheet and get the prices. If it asks about services, go to the document and get the service information and provide it back. Now, in terms of selecting an LLM or an AI model to make this work, I've gone with Anthropic. I actually have tested this with a few others, and it doesn't seem to be able to work as well. The Anthropic Claude Sonnet 4 is what I'm using, and that's what I would recommend. Next, we can take a look at the memory. Having a context window length of around 20 is pretty reasonable. If you need to, you can increase it or you can reduce it, but I think 20 is a pretty good number. Next, we have Google Sheets and Google Docs. Now, this is the super important piece that you need to get your head around if you want to set this up correctly. This example is set up for an accounting firm, so I've deliberately made it so we've got a Google Sheet and a Google Doc so you can understand how you can set this up in different ways depending on your niche. So for an accounting firm, you may have a price list for all the different services that you offer. So if we go to the Google Sheet that this AI agent is referencing via the tools process, you can see here we've got individual, family, and business tax. Now you could make this as simple or as complex as you need for your business. The other node it's referencing is a Google Doc. So for every business, you might have your operating procedures, your services, your features, your benefits, typical questions, and this type of thing. So this document, the AI agent can read it. And so when a question comes in, it goes through the document and formulates an appropriate response. And that could be a combination of the pricing and the Google Doc, or one or the other. And if you go back over here, you can see when that test run went, it actually only went and looked at the Google Sheet. And then the AI drafts a response and then it returns it back. That is how it works. So for a different type of business, you basically just load up your Google Doc and your Google Sheet with all the information that's appropriate for your site visitors to be able to get the information they need, and hopefully go ahead and hit that book a call button. And the way I've got this set up is that if the user does decide to book a call, when they press that book a call button, or let's meet one-on-one, whatever, it actually will send a response back here, and this if statement will detect if it's a booking or whether they're still chatting. This is totally configurable just for whichever way you want it to work for your business or your client's business. Okay, so if you don't know how to code, no problem. I'm going to do this in Lovable and I'll show you exactly what you need to do. I've got this prompt here and we're going to try to basically one-shot the first MVP of this web app that will talk to our n8n automation. I'm not going to go through it all, but it is set up for an accounting firm. You would modify this to be whatever niche you want. The other important thing to note within this requirements document that we're looking at here is this endpoint. The endpoint is what I showed you in the webhook trigger. You just copy that. This is the test one because we're in building phase. And this is the endpoint that we would swap in here. So if you want to copy this prompt, just make sure you change the endpoint. The other thing to note, because we want to be able to book meetings after the person's got their information, they want to move ahead, I've given a Calendly link here. So Lovable will incorporate this into the workflow. We should be able to have a chat and then book a meeting. So we'll just paste this in here and we will see what happens. So this is what Lovable has built for us based on the project requirements document. So if you go over here, you can see I've had to delete out the Google Sheet and the Google Doc because it's not configured and it's got an error sitting on it. You can't actually execute the workflow to test the first node. Second thing to be aware of, if you open up this webhook, just make sure you have a post method because we're posting data from our web interface over into n8n. With that done, if I press execute, this will run and wait for our post request coming from our newly built app. So if I enter in the email here, go to the service. Okay, again, I'll just go for general. Then we'll just ask a basic question. I'm just going to ask hello. All I'm trying to do is initiate and make sure the message and the email that I'm using is sent over to n8n. So send the message. Now we'd expect to get that because we haven't configured everything else, but we can take a look and see if the payload from this chat was received. We can see the webhook's got a bit of a green indicator there. We can see test1 at test.com and the message hello. The chat interface is working. If we want to continue finishing this off, basically the approach is we go to our AI agent. We want to define this below. Now I've added this in here, which is json.stringify and then this JSON body. And if we go down here, just bringing in this data here so that the AI agent can have that for context to take the next step. The next part is we want to add a system prompt. So if you click on add an option, we go to system message. You're a helpful assistant. We can get rid of that. Now I'm going to paste in the system prompt that I showed earlier. And you'll see a lot of this is red, but we can fix that up. So it's picked up that correctly. Down here, service type, session ID, message ID. This is from the previous build I did. So we can then fix these up. So the service type, if we want to use it, it's just called service in this one. So we drag and drop that there. Now that's green. The session ID, there it is there. And the message type, that's a user message. That completes the setup of the AI agent. So we're at the point now where we can just about actually get a response back to our web app. One thing we do need to do, if I go back into the AI agent and I just scroll down, I need to grab this session ID. So just copy it from here, which we previously confirmed was correct, and go into the simple memory, change this to define below, and then add it in here as the key. And just set that context window to 20 if you haven't already. If I execute this workflow, even though we haven't added in our spreadsheet or our Word doc, the AI agent should be smart enough to work out if it doesn't know to tell us to book a meeting or that type of thing. So Over here, if I just go, what are your office hours? It should come back and say something to the effect that it doesn't know, but it can tell us. Okay, thanks for your question. I'd be happy to provide more detailed information, but the best way is to, through a consultation, schedule a meeting. So all of this is customizable based on what you put in that system prompt for when it cannot find the answer. And over here, you can see the data came in, the agent processed it, it used the memory, it used Anthropic, and it returned the data back to our app. And just a little tip on that, respond to webhook. In our main webhook, just make sure you've got this set to respond to webhook node. That's what actually makes the process wait and send that data back. So the final two steps is just adding the Google Sheet and the Google Doc. Just connect the Google Sheet and the Google document with the information for your business, and that's it. After this point, you just connect this up to whatever kind of notifications you want. I did Telegram, but hey, you can do whatever you like. Now, to wrap this up, you're probably wondering, how do I get this lovable application component onto a website? I think the easiest way to do this is actually publish this to a custom domain that is very similar to the website you're sending it to. So if it was XYZ Accounting, it might be xyzaccountingagent.com, publish it, and then on the main site, you just have a button or a link for help, which will render this page, and you can get Lovable to update the theme, the coloring, the style to match. So for anyone using it, it'll appear completely integrated and part of that site. And the last step in this process, site visitor has their chat and they decide to book a meeting. I've got it configured so it'll open up this Calendly app. Everyone knows how it works. Just select your time and the preferred day, and away you go. And everyone gets a meeting request and it automatically goes into your Gmail calendar. I hope you got a bit of value from this video. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one or over in the Online Ninja community.